Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, June 29th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect mostly cloudy skies and a high of 94 today. Early voting will look different when it begins today in Bexar County. With efforts in place to contain an alarming surge of COVID-19 cases, Texas is one of only 4 states that declined to loosen laws to allow more people to vote by mail to slow the spread of the coronavirus. So election officials say they've spent the last 3 months crafting safety plans and buying supplies to make sure it's safe to vote. Also happening today, country music legend Willie Nelson is headlining a virtual Texas fundraiser for former Vice President Joe Biden that will include speeches by former Democratic presidential candidates Beto O'Rourke and Julian Castro. And now, the top stories for the day. Many of the patients in this new wave of infections are far younger than those who were expected to fill up hospitals after the coronavirus first reached San Antonio. Some of the nurses found the average age of their patients had dropped from 60 to around 45. As coronavirus patients pour in, San Antonio's hospitals have scrambled to make room for them. They have converted section after section of rooms into COVID isolation wards. Nurses, doctors, and respiratory therapists are pulling long, busy shifts. Lauren Karuba dug deeper into the challenge of treating younger patients and the way hospitals are trying to keep doctors and nurses safe. The San Antonio event planner who won a $39 million federal contract for emergency food relief during the pandemic has delivered just a fraction of the 750,000 box meals that food banks and other nonprofits were supposed to receive. The deliveries are supposed to be completed by Tuesday. As of Saturday, Create a Date had delivered approximately 160 boxes to food banks, churches, and faith-based groups, according to records provided by nonprofits in Texas, Arkansas, Arizona, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Utah. Tom Arsborn investigated some of the things that went wrong with the government's Farmers to Families food box program and which areas were hurt the most. The Masked Spring Renaissance Festival, an annual arts and culture event that benefits the San Antonio Food Bank and historic preservation, has been stung like many other social gatherings by coronavirus-related restrictions. Last year, Patrice Villas-Trigo's 2-day event had a record attendance of 1,200 people on the nearly 5-acre ranch site. Now, with COVID-19 likely to impose on the world's economy for a year or two, she's trying to build a model event. "I'm doing this in such a safe way, the only way you're going to get sick is by your own negligence," she said. Scott Huddleston went there to find out what that looked like. Mexico is looking at a difficult year ahead, with COVID-19 infection rates continuing to climb and an economy expected to contract as much as 10% in the coming months. Yet, it all depends on how you look at it, argues Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, announcing last month that his administration is looking into a broader way to measure the welfare of his fellow citizens. One of López Obrador's goals will be to find an alternative to what he calls progress without justice, in reference to the common shorthand for the country's economic performance, the gross domestic product, or GDP. He also seeks to quantify Mexican happiness. Emily Pickrell explains more at expressnews.com. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. The number of confirmed coronavirus cases in the San Antonio area surpassed 10,000, with 495 new cases reported on Sunday. Vice President Mike Pence came to Texas on Sunday to get a report on the surge of coronavirus cases in Texas and offer reassurances to Governor Greg Abbott that the Trump administration is with Texas. On Friday, Governor Greg Abbott ordered bars closed, restarting a ticking clock for bar owners across the San Antonio area. Some are worried they'll have to close for good. Texas restaurants and bars got some good news Saturday afternoon. They will be able to sell mixed drinks to go beginning immediately, providing a much-needed new revenue stream for the beleaguered industry. While many Texans might be looking to Big Bend National Park to escape COVID-19, Cases of the virus are skyrocketing in rural Brewster County, where the park is located. Coronavirus cases have accelerated among Air Force recruits in San Antonio since the service ramped up testing 5 weeks ago, including a recent spike of 13 cases in 1 week. Sig Christensen tells us how JBSA Lackland has taken steps to allow basic training there to continue. The largest review to date of more than 100 studies done worldwide has confirmed a positive fact. Most children who contract COVID-19 will do just fine. Early voting for the July 14th primary runoff election has arrived. The Express News editorial board has released its list of recommendations for this primary runoff. John M. Barry wrote, "In most disasters, people come together and help each other. But in the flu outbreak of 1918, without leadership, without the truth, trust evaporated, and people looked after only themselves. 2020 could be similar," columnist George Brodesky writes. San Antonio's unemployment rate fell in May after spiking to a record high in April, but the recent explosion in COVID-19 cases and a new round of state-mandated business closures and restrictions could temper the city's economic recovery. While unemployment went down dramatically for white Americans last month, it continued to rise for Black Americans. Chris Tomlinson talked to the UTSA researcher who found racial bias is endemic. This week in history, on July 4th, 1986, Lady Liberty celebrated her 100th birthday. Americans came out to celebrate the Statue of Liberty's birthday in droves. The Express News devoted an entire page to the festivities, featuring pictures and photos from the Associated Press. One of those photos features a young child originally from Korea celebrating his new citizenship. You can see that historic cover at expressnews.com/covers. A San Antonio artist with a checkered background gained fame with his lengthy project to create an oil painting of the Alamo Battleground that's 7 feet by 10 feet, completed in time for the Texas Centennial celebration. Paula Allen has a story in part 2 of this 2-part column. When Kathleen Cadenhead moved to San Antonio for a job at USAA, she learned of an animal rescue group that specialized in placing rescued Great Danes. She became a dog foster parent, taking in a pooch that had been surrendered by its owner. That was almost 100 dogs ago. Cadenhead has become such a prolific foster mother to rescue dogs, not just Great Danes, but the whole canine panoply, that the Petco Foundation recently honored her as one of 22 foster heroes across the nation. Melissa Fletcher-Stochke has more on how dog adoptions have changed during the pandemic. And now the fun stuff. Even if the Spurs fall short in their postseason chase, 8 more games of development could be crucial for some players. Jeff McDonald gives us a glance at a handful of Spurs who could help themselves with a solid run in Orlando. Miss Ellie's Pizza of New York manages to mostly pull off authenticity of a Big Apple joint in our latest 52 Weeks of Pizza review. Paul Stevens' latest kitchen tips provide several ways to get garlic stink off of your hands. For kids, the fairy-sized garden project created by the San Antonio Charter Moms can be tailored for any grade level. Artist Diana Kersey's new mural on the Oxbow Office Tower on Broadway is designed to turn heads. After turning a humble Olmos Park storefront into the city's best hamburger joint, Chef Andrew Wiseman is expanding Mr. Juicy with a second location at a former Jack in the Box at Hildebrand and San Pedro. And that's all for Monday, June 29th. This was your Express Briefing. My name is Luis Vasquez. Consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast in your Apple Podcast apps, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.